These Pacific lamprey were all collected at Priest Rapids Dam for translocation above Wells Dam. But before we do that, we bring them here, we weigh and measure them, and we insert a pit tag, which is a microchip that basically tells us the number of each individual fish. And we're actually going to be able to track these fish as they move up into their spawning tributaries.
672, 11.5.
We also take a genetic sample, which we send to our colleagues at the Columbia River Intertribal Fisheries Commission for one of their long-term genetic studies on Pacific lamprey. We use an anesthetic that basically just
10.
puts the fish to sleep a little bit, makes it easier for us to handle them without hurting them. Pacific lamprey are similar to salmon in that they, the adults lay their eggs and the juveniles are reared in the freshwater. They migrate out to the ocean and then they return as adults to continue the cycle. But unlike salmon, Pacific lamprey don't necessarily return to the stream that they were raised in. Instead, they're attracted to the hormones and pheromones that are released by other juveniles. So we're 9 dams up the system. We're at the upper end of Pacific lamprey range in the Columbia River. And about 15 years ago, we noticed a large decline in the number of adults that we were getting returning to Wells. At the same time, there were also a lack of juveniles in the Methow River and the Okanagan River. So Douglas PUD, along with our colleagues and partners, such as Yakima Nation tribes and the Colville tribes, decided that one of the best ways to encourage Pacific lamprey to return back to the upper Columbia was to actually translocate adult fish up into these upper reaches, hoping that they would then spawn and the juveniles would attract more adults to come back naturally. So our goal is to translocate about 1,000 fish a year. And so far it seems to have been successful. We're seeing a large number of adults that are choosing to return instead of being translocated, so that's great. And we're also seeing juveniles in way bigger numbers up the Methow and Okanagan rivers than we did even 5-6 years ago. So lamprey, instead of having gills the way that we think about fish normally having gills, they have these holes, these little gill slits, so that's how they breathe. So these adult lamprey that are returning up to spawn, they're not eating anymore. They're just interested in getting up to their spawning locations. And a lot of people think that they're going to have a lamprey attach on to them while they're swimming. That is highly unlikely. And even if they did, they'd just suck on for a second, realize you weren't food, and just keep moving on. They're nothing to be scared of.